All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and the continuation of our RBT practice exam series, where we're going through another set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please subscribe for all of our updates. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. When you pass your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's keep going. You just bought a new house that sits next door to another house that has floodlights. Each night, the floodlights will come on at seemingly random times and shine brightly into your windows. You want to start measuring how often this happens at night so that you can talk to your neighbor about it. What type of measurement would you use? We have a measurement question, and it might seem obvious, but the most important thing with the measurement question, what are you trying to measure and what are you trying to accomplish? In this case, we have a neighbor who has lights and the lights come on at night. We want to know how often those lights come on at night. So, what's the easiest way to figure out how often something happens? Well, you're going to count, and you can simply count how many times those lights come on at night. And so, if you want to count how often those lights are coming on at night, what type of measurement are you going to use? Well, frequency is going to be your best bet because frequency is just a count. What is the frequency of those lights coming on at night? A looks like our right answer, but we're always going to read all of our answer choices. So B, permanent product. Now you could say, well, I can measure when the lights are on, but you're not going to be able to reliably measure every time they come on if you're only measuring when the light is on. In other words, you might miss the light going off and then on again. So you might miss an instance of the light going off and on if you're only measuring when the light is on. So frequency is going to be much better to use if you're just counting when those lights come on. Magnitude is going to tell you how bright or not bright the lights are, but not necessarily how often they come on. And then latency is going to give you time. So time in between the SD and the first instance. We're not looking for time. We're looking for a count. We're looking for how often or how many. So the type of measurement we're going to use is frequency. Logan is asked to help with a functional behavior assessment for one of his clients. The purpose is to better understand the function of the behavior. What approach should Logan take as the technician? Now, as the technician, what is your primary role? Your primary role as a technician is to implement. So you're going to be implementing behavior plans, treatment plans, that sort of thing. Now, you're also going to be assisting. You're going to be assisting with functional behavior assessments, parent training, all of the above, right? You're all working as a team. So if Logan is asked to help with an FBA, a functional behavior assessment, what is Logan's role? What approach should Logan take? A, collect data on the client's behaviors for only parts of his session. Well, if we're doing this full assessment and we're trying to get an understanding of the function, we're not necessarily going to be only taking data for parts of the session. And Logan really needs to listen to what? Logan needs to listen to the supervisor. So B, collect data on the client's behavior as directed by a supervisor. That's much more accurate. Logan's not going to be deciding when or when not to take data. He needs to listen to a supervisor on when to take that data. So even though B seems obvious, that's because it's the right answer many times. As the RBT, you're going to be working with and collaborating with your supervisor and following their lead. C, pick a measurement system based on his interpretation of what would meet his goals. It's not about Logan's interpretation. It's about the supervisors first and then the team. So Logan's going to follow his supervisor's lead. And then D, ask the client's parent what measurements they would like to use and then use that system. Parents are involved. They're part of the team. But we're not just going to ask them what they want to do and always do that. They might not understand measurement as well as, let's say, the supervisor or the team. So Logan's approach needs to be looking towards the supervisor for direction and purpose. What approach should Logan take as the technician? Collect data on the client's behavior as directed by his supervisor. A teacher asks her students' ABA team if they can work on the student packing up when the day is over. The supervising behavior analyst performs a task analysis on this skill prior to starting the intervention. What is the purpose of the task analysis? Pretty straightforward definition question, right? Because we're just essentially defining task analysis. And in what context? Well, we have this teacher who wants to help or wants the supervisor and the ABA team to help with packing up, their student packing up, the analyst is going to task analyze that skill. When we task analyze something, what are we doing? Well, we're breaking down that skill into teachable steps. So if that teacher wants us to teach packing up and the supervisor performs the task analysis, they're going to break up packing up into teachable steps. So let's look at A. What is the purpose of task analysis? A, to identify the function or why the student struggles to pack up at the end of the day. Task analysis does not identify the function. That's not the purpose of conducting a task analysis. B, to break down packing up into teachable steps. Exactly. Our task analysis creates our task chain, and then we teach using that task chain. So the task analysis comes first. It breaks down that skill into steps. C, to help measure packing up to prepare for intervention. The task analysis isn't measuring anything. We're analyzing the task itself. And then D, to teach the student how to pack up. We're going to use task chaining and reinforcement and shaping and all these interventions to teach. With the task analysis, we're just taking that skill and creating steps we can use to then teach using task chaining. So what is the purpose of this task analysis? Is to break down packing up into teachable steps. A college professor wants to find out if students prefer to have class in person, on Zoom, or a mixture of both. He puts the three options on a piece of paper and tells his class to rank each from 1 to 3. What type of assessment is this? All right, interesting question here. We have to identify the type of assessment we're using. And what do we know so far? We know that a college professor wants to know what his students prefer. So first off, it looks like a preference assessment. Now, what type of preference assessment is that professor using? Well, he has 3 options. He puts them all on a piece of paper and tells the class to rank 1 to 3. Is that a forced choice assessment? Well, the forced choice assessment, we're presenting 2 options at a time. Here, he's got 3 options all together. So it can't be forced choice. Forced choice is going to be 2 at a time. Could it be indirect? Well, it can be indirect because he's not directly assessing these preferences. He's handing out these surveys or these ranking surveys to the class. That's much more indirect than going to each student and doing a forced choice assessment, for example. What about single choice? Well, single choice, we're presenting 1 item at a time. Not what we're doing here either. And then multiple stimulus without replacement. With the multiple stimulus without replacement assessment, anytime an item is chosen, that item is removed. It's not what we're doing here. We've got a piece of paper and the class is ranking items. Nothing is being removed. So the type of assessment being used here is indirect. The other 3 are much more direct. Forced choice involves 2 at a time, single choice 1 at a time, and then multiple stimulus without replacement. Each item that's chosen is then removed. None of those fit here. The type of assessment is indirect. Parents are a crucial part of the service delivery team. If you, a technician, are asked by a parent to pause a procedure that you were instructed to complete by your supervisor during one of your sessions, what should you do? Now, this is a bit of a challenging question because as the technician, you're in a difficult spot here. On one hand, we do have parents and they're part of the team, of course, and they ask you to pause a procedure. On the other hand, that same procedure you were told to complete by your supervisor. What do? Who do we listen to? Well, in this case, we've got to listen to the parents. If the parents are asking you to do something, as the technician, you need to do it. Now, does that mean you end session, you stop there? No, you just pause that procedure and then reach out to your supervisor immediately. So what's the best course of action here? A, explain that you must finish session and implement the program, but you will talk to your supervisor immediately after. Before you can disregard what the parents are saying, you need to talk to the supervisor. If the parents ask you to do something, you should do it within reason. But if they're asking you to pause or stop something, you should definitely pause or stop something and then talk to your supervisor immediately. What about B? Pause the procedure and end session immediately before talking with your supervisor. Well, you don't need to end session. You just have to stop that procedure. There should be other things you can work on. You don't want to use up or lose that time with the client. You just don't want to do that procedure anymore. So what else can you do with that client that doesn't involve that procedure? C, pause the procedure, continue session working on other parts of the plan, and then talk with your supervisor. Good. Pause that procedure so you're you're complying with the parents. Continue session so you can keep providing service, and then talk with your supervisor. C hits all of the major points. And then D, explain to the parent that you must implement the procedure as directed and leave it at that. That is not your role as a technician to tell the parents what you should and shouldn't be doing. They ask you to do something, comply, contact a supervisor immediately, let them handle it from there. The best course of action is pause the procedure, continue session working on other parts of the plan, and then talk with your supervisor. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps. Check out btexamreview.com for all our study materials. When you pass, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out or card. Study hard. See you soon.